So, I've talked in the past about the really effective anti-air missile that is the Sky Sabre. It's a maritime missile that is used to destroy air threats. And I mentioned as well that it's derived from the CAMM missile, the CAM, and that's the base. And CAMM stands for Common Anti-Air Modular Missile. Now, that same missile has had excellent implementations for land, for anti-air capability on land. And I'm not just going to talk about the same missile today, because the system allows it to function well. We know that. But I'm going to talk about the full setup, which we call Sky Sabre. Now, in general, for Sky Sabre, which is the maritime variant, it utilizes a VLS system. And obviously, that's very complex engineering that goes into that. But it's a load of combined cells that, one can crane into a ship, and then it's inbuilt. And then where the ship goes, the missiles go. It utilizes ship infrastructure. And that's all well and good. But one doesn't really have the same infrastructure on land for radar, for target acquisition, for guidance. And there are limits to what can be achieved. So the system itself has to operate really well, operate in different geographies and in different conditions, with minimal other supporting technology as it would have at sea. So today I'm talking about Sky Sabre, which is the land variant which has to do all of this, fulfill its function without the full infrastructure of a ship. Now, the name of the overall land defense system is Sky Sabre, but the missile itself is Land Ceptor. And these systems are used in conjunction in order to destroy short to medium range threats, anti-air threats, or rather just fulfill anti-air capability. So that's either aircraft or missiles generally. It's manufactured by MBDA UK and has been in service since 2020. And of course it entered with the Royal Artillery, the CAMM, the Land Ceptor, with the 16th Regiment Royal Artillery. The system itself totally is based around Land Ceptor because of course that is the thing that has to deliver the payload. It has to keep it protected, fire it, help it guide itself to its target, basically. Land Ceptor itself is similar to Sky Sabre. It's around 99 kilograms, with 10 kilograms of that being the warhead. You don't need much because it's anti-air. It has a length of 3.2 meters and 16.6 centimeter diameter. The engine is comprised of solid fuel motor core, and unlike most medium-range anti-air missiles, or rather like most medium anti-air missiles, it utilizes supersonic speed. It travels at Mach 3 to reach its target before the threat turns into an attack. So it basically neutralizes the threat as quickly as possible, and it manages to do this through a number of mechanisms. Through a really excellent motor, which I've talked about before, the solid fuel motor core, as well as wings, which have an 18-inch span. Now these wings are in cruciform formation. They're cruciform wings, meaning it's a 4-point orientation, and they deploy outwards upon launch from the missile to rest in a final even 360-degree coverage at 90 degrees each. In short, wings deploy so that it can remain just as stable and maneuverable, no matter its orientation. It can twist as much as it likes, but the fact of the matter is, it's going to remain as maneuverable as ever, no matter what happens. And it really does have ridiculous maneuverability. That's largely what has made CAM such a successful missile. And because it's so maneuverable, it's really accurate, meaning it doesn't need a super heavy warhead. And that's a very good thing. And that's why it can utilize a large portion of its body for fuel for electronic systems. And actually, we've found that is largely a lot more efficient. Now, the CAMM, the Land Ceptor missile, has a range in excess of 25 kilometers. And for that duration, it uses mid-stage guidance, which is an inertial system. And for the terminal phase, it uses active radar homing. Now, the high explosive fragmentation warhead will kill anything it hits, despite the fact it's only 10 kilograms. The missile is powerful enough to, utilize the supporting system, and basically accuracy supersedes warhead size in this particular situation. So, the Sky Sabre system, beyond the missile, utilizes a few bits of kit. The first is the effector. Now this acts as the missile system launch module. Think about it like the VLS system. its tubes basically. It's like a VLS system on a ship, and it is actually VLS. It utilizes soft VLS, and then can track to the target via two-way data link, either by line of sight or by third party, effectively, I believe. And it utilizes soft VLS, meaning cold launch, where a gas canister uses pressure, effectively, to eject the munition in the first instance, and then that has a number of benefits. So if we think about the Sky Sabre variant, I believe that's hot launch, because in that scenario it doesn't matter too much, you're a huge ship. But the Sky Sabre variant is meant to be far more, I guess, robust in minimalist function. So the idea is that all of these units with the two-way data link can eject the gas system, eject the munition via the gas system, and that makes it really, really less visible. It reduces the risks associated with heat as well in firing in flammable areas. It's probably not such a good idea to fire near a really dry woodline or a field of arid grassland if there's a lot of heat launch from the VLS. Now, these canisters, these cold launch canisters, which are tactical really in function, come pre-packed and then are loaded in fours, quad loaded. It's called into the Sky Sabre effector missile launch unit VLS. And what this is it's effectively the pod, as it were. It's the basis from which the missiles can be launched tactically, and obviously that's different from the VLS system on sea, which utilizes Sea Viper. Now, it needs two other units in order to function, because you can't have just a missile launching silo on its own. It utilizes a radar unit, and that's generally the Giraffe. The Giraffe is a medium-range, portable, 360-degree, multi-beam, agile radar surveillance setup. And all of this has to be mobile, of course, because it's got to be able to move around, it's got to be able to increase its range, it's got to be able to accompany ground forces, as it were. And change position, because a ship naturally changes position. If it stays in the same position, obviously it will get found. The Giraffe utilizes a mast system which extends to give it about 120 kilometers of range detection for various threats. Now, with the combination of the radar unit, which is the Giraffe, the mobile missile launcher, which utilizes cold launch through a VLS system, it also utilizes a CNC unit, command and control. And with these three units, which is all the Sky Sabre missile system needs, utilizing the Land Ceptor, it can simultaneously control 24 directed missiles at 24 separate targets. So it's really effective in that regard, probably just as effective as the VLS we see on ships. Perhaps not as much as Sea Viper, but nonetheless, it's really important. Now, there's a huge benefit to this, in only requiring three parts that give it such huge capability. First off is that it's obviously mobile. You've got to have three units, which can all move, which is a bonus in itself, but that makes targeting them harder. Every unit is mobile, and you can split them up as well if you want, meaning they're not as easy to track. Now, obviously, utilizing cold launch stealth is a factor here. You want this to be able to operate remotely, and you want to, have it operating minimally. It means that for air threats, it's difficult to see. There's only 3 units, and that's it. And they're difficult to find because they move. Additionally, 3 units you see are interchangeable for Sky Sabre, and this is actually a huge benefit that has been its work from the past when there wasn't such interchangeability. It can set up data link, meaning if it needs to, it can easily swap out any unit from the system for a different one. It can bring in a new Giraffe radar system. It can bring in a new command and control unit. It can bring in a new missile silo. But nonetheless, it remains fairly simple while still having interchangeability. And then you get 3 synergized units. And that's about it. Sky Sabre is effective because it's simple, it's difficult to find, it's rather stealthy in itself, and it has all the necessary infrastructure for operation, utilizing minimal vehicle capability. And that's a huge thing, actually. That's why Land Ceptor has been so successful. The missile is great, the system is great, and it functions pretty smoothly, I believe the artillery are saying. So while there have been complaints, as there always are with this sort of stuff, swapping it out, it's really quite an effective system. And once it's gotten used to, it's going to increase anti-air capability far more than, let's say, Rapier, which was far less mobile. So we'll see what happens, but it's pretty incredible, very, very robust system for land-air defense.